Nobody talks enough about this part. Everybody loves to clap for reinvention until they see what it actually cost. Because starting over after 50, it's not always glamorous. It's not always empowering. And honestly, it's not always giving main character energy. Sometimes it looks like courage, yeah. Sometimes it looks like confusion. And sometimes it looks like crying in your car, updating your resume, praying for clarity, fixing your face, and telling people, I'm good. When deep down you're thinking, Lord, what exactly are we doing here? So if you've ever felt too old to begin again, too tired to rebuild, or too deep into life to suddenly change directions, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about what nobody tells you about starting over after 50. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And trust me, all three are real. Hey friends, welcome back to Waves of Change. I'm Vanessa. And if you're in a season of transition, reinvention, or rebuilding, or just trying to figure out what your next chapter is supposed to look like, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not the only one trying to make sense of a life that no longer fits the old version of you. Starting over after 50 can mean a lot of things. It might mean changing careers, leaving a relationship, becoming an entrepreneur. It might mean downsizing or relocating. It might mean finally choosing yourself after years, maybe decades even, of putting everybody else first. And let me say this plainly. Starting over after 50 is not proof that you failed. It's not. Sometimes it's proof that you finally got honest. Honest about what no longer fits. Honest about what drains you. Honest about what no longer feels aligned. Honest about what God may be calling you out of, even if it scares you to leave. And man, honesty will shake a table, but it'll also set you free. So let's start with the good, because there is good. And some of it is beautiful in a way you don't fully appreciate until life has humbled you a little bit, strengthened you a little bit, and taught you a few things the hard way. Number one, you know yourself better. One of the best things about starting over after 50 is this. You're not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. You've lived enough life to know what matters. You've had enough disappointments to know what peace is worth. You've had enough responsibilities to know that busy and fulfilled are not the same thing. At this age, you start wanting what's real, what's honest, what's sustainable, what lets you sleep at night. You don't just want the applause, you want alignment. And that kind of self-awareness, that, my friend, is a gift. Number two, you care less about performing. By this stage of life, a lot of us are tired, not just physically, tired spiritually, tired emotionally, tired of pretending, tired of shrinking, tired of proving, tired of performing for people and places that don't even deserve that much access to your energy. You start asking different questions. Does this bring me peace? Does this honor my values? Does this fit the life I actually want? Does this nourish me or just keep me busy and burnt out? And that shift is powerful, y'all, because after 50, you start realizing that being impressive is overrated if you're miserable. Number three, you become more intentional with time. Time feels different now. Not in a hopeless way, in a holy way, in a sacred way. You begin to understand that your days matter, your energy matters, your joy matters, your rest matters. And you get less willing to waste those things on nonsense. on confusion, on dysfunction, on fake loyalty, on people who only know how to call when they need something. You may move slower now, but you often move wiser. And yeah, wisdom has a pace all of its own. Number 4, you're allowed to dream. Let's settle this right now. You are not too old to pivot. You are not too old to change your mind. You are not too old to heal. You're not too old to move. You're not too old to create a life that feels more like you. Now, I really want this to land because society has a way of acting like once you hit a certain age, you're supposed to settle, to shrink, to stop stretching, to stop reaching, to just be grateful and stay put. But maybe God is not calling you to settle. Maybe he's calling you to stretch. And just because it's later in your story doesn't mean the story is over, friend. Now let's talk about the bad. Because that part is real too. And this is the part people don't put in inspirational quotes. Number 1, you may start to feel behind. This one can hit hard. You may look around and think, why am I rebuilding at this age? Shouldn't I be further along by now? Why does it feel like everybody else got the manual except me? And comparison, oh my gosh. Comparison will wear you out if you let it. Because it's easy to look at somebody else's polished life and assume you missed your moment. But life is not a straight line. Some people bloom early. Some people bloom late. Some bloom, get knocked flat by life, heal, and bloom again. That doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you human. And let me say this too. Just because your timeline doesn't look neat doesn't mean your life is off track. Number 2, your energy is different. Let's tell the truth with love, y'all. Starting over after 50 hits different. At 25, you can survive chaos, confusion, bad decisions, stress, 1 iced coffee, 2 hours of sleep, and still pop up the next day like nothing happened. I remember. After 50, you need rest, hydration, boundaries, prayer, a decent pillow, and maybe to not hear from anybody for just a little while. Your body is louder now. Your nervous system is more honest now. Your recovery time is more sacred now. So when people say, just hustle harder, some of us are like, oh heck no. That ministry has closed. This season usually requires a slower, more intentional pace. Not because you're weak, mind you, but because you're wiser. Number 3, fear gets louder. Sometimes fear gets louder because the stakes get higher. When you're younger, people call it experimenting. When you're older, they call it risky. And that can really mess with your head sometimes. You start asking yourself, what if this doesn't work out? What if I lose this money? What if I embarrass myself? What if I made the wrong decision? What if I'm too late? And that fear is real. But sometimes the thing that feels risky is actually the thing that will save your sanity. Sometimes the leap that terrifies you is the same leap that leads you closer to the life you were meant to live. Still, nobody really talks enough about how much courage it takes to keep moving when your hands are shaky. And some of y'all have been moving with shaky hands for a long, long time. That counts too. Now let's get to the ugly. This is the part people usually skip over because it doesn't look cute on camera. Number 1, starting over can bruise your ego. Because sometimes starting over means going from competent to confused. Sometimes it means learning new systems, new technology, new rhythms, new language, new expectations, and maybe even a new version of yourself. And that can be humbling in a way you did not request. One minute you feel brave, the next minute you feel like, now why did I sign up for this BS again? One minute you feel full of vision, and the next minute you're Googling basic things and wondering why life has you in a remedial reinvention. That emotional whiplash is very real. Number 2, people won't always understand your choices. Some people will celebrate you, yes. Others will question you. Why would you leave that good paying job? Why would you start over now? Why would you move? Why would you build something new at this age? And sometimes people ask these questions like concern, but it lands like doubt. That part is hard to take because it's already challenging to trust yourself in a new season. It gets harder when you feel like other people are silently voting against your growth. And let's be real. Not everybody can handle the version of you that stops settling. Not everybody can understand obedience when it inconveniences their comfort. Number 3, grief comes with it. That part. Even when you're moving towards something better, you may still grieve. You may grieve old identities, old dreams, old timelines, old relationships, old expectations even. Old versions of yourself that thought life would look different by now. And grief does not mean you made the wrong choice, my friend. It means that transition is real. Sometimes starting over feels exciting in the morning and heartbreaking by evening. Sometimes you feel hopeful and exhausted, grateful and grieving, clear and confused, strong and scared, all in the same week, maybe all in the same day. That mixture can feel ugly because it's messy. But messy does not mean meaningless. And just because a season is messy doesn't mean God isn't in it. And maybe that's the deeper truth right there. Starting over after 50 is not just practical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. Because it asks you to release what was familiar. It asks you to trust what's unfinished. And it asks you to keep walking without having every answer. That takes courage. Not loud courage, not performative courage, quiet courage. The kind that gets up and tries again, the kind that submits the application, the kind that starts a business, the kind that creates the channel, the kind that rests when needed and still keeps going. That kind that whispers, I may not know exactly how this will unfold, but I cannot stay where I am. That kind of courage is sacred. So our spiritual anchor for today is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. I know the scripture gets quoted a lot, but in a season of starting over, it hits different. Because when you are in transition, it's easy to think the uncertainty means you're lost. But uncertainty doesn't mean God is absent. Transition doesn't mean the plan disappeared. Delay absolutely doesn't mean destiny died. Sometimes all you can see is the disruption, but God still sees the future. He still sees the plan. He still sees the purpose. He still sees the version of you that will come out of this stronger, wiser, softer, bolder, and more aligned. So if this season feels unclear, hold on. If this season feels awkward, hold on. If this season feels humbling, stretching, and unlike anything you pictured, hold on, my friend. Just because you don't fully understand this chapter you're in doesn't mean God has stopped writing. And sometimes starting over is not punishment. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's protection. And sometimes it's the beginning of the very thing you prayed for, even if it arrived in packaging you have yet to understand. So what nobody tells you about starting over after 50 is this. It's freeing, it's frightening, it's humbling, it's sacred, it's painful, and it's powerful. It will expose what still needs healing. It will reveal what really matters. It will challenge your comfort. It will deepen your faith. And no, it may not look glamorous, but it can still be good. So if you're in a season of rebuilding, reinventing, or becoming, please hear me and hear me good. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. And you are not washed up. And you are not starting from nothing. You're starting from wisdom, from experience, from resilience, from survival, from grace. And that is still a powerful, powerful place to begin. If this episode spoke to you, drop a comment and tell me, what has starting over taught you about yourself? Thank you so much for spending this time with me on Waves of Change. I'm Vanessa, and remember, starting over after 50 may not be easy, but it's still possible. I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.